the Metro on 101.9 WDET FM. I'm Tia Graham. The Pistons aren't the only professional basketball team in town. Back in 2017, almost a decade ago, actor, producer, music legend Ice Cube and other investors launched the Big Three, a 3-on-3 basketball league that is gaining popularity quickly. And the 3-on-3 basketball was even added as an Olympic sport in 2020. The goal of Big Three is to highlight and support some of professional basketball's talented players whose time within the NBA and other leagues have come to an end for whatever reason. It's a way for players to remain playing, but also a way to develop new talent. The city of Detroit is home to its own Big Three team, of course, the Detroit Amps. And here to talk with us right now is Gervin Jr., assistant coach of the Detroit Amps. Hello, Mr. Gervin.
Hello, Tia. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So let's talk about this season so far. How's the team looking? You all did unfortunately lose this past Sunday, but there is another game this Saturday, which is televised on CBS. So let's talk a little bit about where the team is right now.
Well, the team is in a good place. Like you said, Tia, we were unfortunately we lost last game. Tough game. Went down towards the end, and we kind of. The ball didn't go our way. And so everybody's it's 6 teams locked up for 3-2 right now. So the league is really locked up right now. So next week is going to really be a pivotal week in play and in the standings. And so we're looking forward to it. We have a really good team coming in. We're going to be playing against the LA Riot, Dwight Howard and local superstar Jordan Crawford. Yeah. And so it'll be exciting.
You can say that again. So, how different is the Big Three compared to what we're used to seeing with the NBA? Because I'm hearing you talk about it right now. And, of course, trigger words are going off of normal basketball conversations, of course. But what's the difference?
Oh, well, it's a big difference.
Yeah.
We're played in a half court, of course. And then it's 3-on-3. And so – unlike 5-on-5, it's a full court game, and then you have those transitions. And so this with the 3-on-3, the transitions are in the half court, and so all you really have to do is clear the ball. And so it's a lot quicker competition, a lot more intense. Whereas you're only going to 50, and so there's a point cap on it, and so you only. It's first to 50. And so it gets intense. The play is a lot more physical than your NBA and a lot more 5-on-5. Yeah. And so that kind of plays a part with everything, and it adds to the intensity. But the guys, they're pros, man. So they adjust really, really quick, and it makes for a great competition.
Yeah, one of my questions, actually, you kind of hit on it a little bit, but is there more urgency or more creativity because it's half court? Do you think there's different type of strategy that goes into the play, or especially for the players who are out there playing? Like, if you could explain a little bit how they have to adjust when they're playing half court.
Oh yeah, it's quite an adjustment, because you have players from all facets that when in the 5-on-5 competition, a lot of those players play different roles. Yeah, and so. The versatility comes in. And so now you're seeing guys, like a Dwight Howard. He's out there actually shooting threes now. And, he didn't do that when he played in the NBA. He played on the inside. But you're able to see he can really shoot the ball, especially if you give him time. Yeah. And so you're starting to see a lot more versatility in these NBA guys that, a lot of times we didn't see during their career. And so it's also, it's a treat to see because you really see how good they really were.
Yeah. And in as much detail as you can, walk us through a typical game. How long do they typically last, and what do timeouts look like and substitutions look like? How long are players on the floor?
Okay, so we usually we get to the game usually 2 hours, hour and a half before the game. So it gives guys an opportunity to get into the arena, kind of get warmed up, get their tickets and all that stuff situated and stuff, and get guys time to focus, and they get guys go to training room and things like that. And so once we get into the arena and stuff, the guys are kind of getting ready. If you have the first game, you're usually there first. And so, the guys is full concentration, especially that, when before pregame, everybody's in the back, everybody's getting their mind right, everybody's getting ready. You have, you have your certain characters. We have a lot of characters in this league, and everybody has their own way of, getting ready for the game. So that's an interesting thing to see. It looks like a circus, looks like chaos, but you have a bunch of professional guys that have been playing this game for a long time, and they have their own routines and stuff like that. So it's actually cool to see. And then, we're announced on the court, and then each game usually lasts around 50 minutes to an hour. It's the first to 50. And then you have a couple, if you have a TV game, it's a few TV timeouts and things like that. But, it's a really cool league because Ice Cube and his team have built a competitive environment. This is a tournament now, Tia. So, it's 10 weeks, but you have 8 weeks to make it to, week 10. And so the competition, every game counts. You don't want to get behind in the standings. Like I said earlier, the standings are locked up right now. So It's going to be an intense week in Cincinnati next week. So it should be fun.
Yeah. And number one, you're listening to the Metro on WDET. I'm Tia Graham. We're talking about the newest basketball league, the Big 3 League. Our guest is assistant coach George Gervin Jr. Now, George, your father is George Iceman Gervin.
Correct.
Who was known for the finger roll. Let's talk a little bit about what basketball has meant to you and your family, especially growing up with a father with such a just amazing career, 12 straight NBA All-Star games, which is just amazing to think about. So just talk about having that legacy growing up.
Oh, wow. Where do I start? I mean, I would like to say I'm very blessed to have the opportunity to be, my father's son and to be able to, witness, his process, in my growing up. And so I was there from the beginning. I still have a picture. My parents have a picture on the wall when I was 2, when I went to my first basketball game, my first NBA game. And once I saw that first NBA game, I fell in love with it. And so every opportunity that growing up, I had the chance to go to practice. I used to wear my socks high, just like my dad, and pull them all the way up. And so, my dad was a huge role model to me growing up. And, just being with my dad a lot, and I got a chance to, meet some of the greats, or a lot of the greats that were able to play the game. And so, just with that, I was able to be around all these legends, and it shaped me as a young man. It helped me. I was able to take a lot of things from your Dr. J, your Kareem, your Magic, your Isaiah, so these were all the guys that I got a chance and opportunity to grow up around and stuff, and, wrestle around in hotel rooms and do things like that. Yeah. And they also helped motivate me in my basketball career. Mm-hmm. And so, just being around all of that, it was big for me in my opportunity to play basketball. And so I had an opportunity to play high school basketball. I got very, very good at it. And then I was able to attain a scholarship to go to college.
Nice.
And so I got a chance to play for, another great, Clyde Drexler. Yeah. So Clyde Drexler, who's the commissioner of the Big 3 League right now. And he was my college coach. And so I had an opportunity to play under him. And so just having, Clyde Drexler, Hakeem Olajuwon when I was at Houston, and having all that mentorship around me, it only shaped me as a young man and helped me as a pro. And so I'm truly, truly blessed to be able to grow up in an environment like that. And so, I wouldn't change it for the world. Now what I do is I try to pass all that knowledge that I've learned in the past and try to pass it to the next young man and young woman.
And just hearing you say that and all of the legends that you just listed off, I'm thinking about that particular moment in NBA, and you talk about Magic Johnson and how he helped change the point guard position, and you talk about, Dr. J, and there's so many of these pivotal and
transcendence.
Yes, they transcended and changed the scope and the play of basketball, and you were privy to that, and you saw it, and you were watching it as you were growing up. So can you talk about just watching that growing up and to where we are today, the evolution of the play of basketball? Where are we today, and what have you seen evolve, and what have you liked about the evolution of basketball today?
Oh, it's been great. I mean, and like you said, it's the evolution. I know there's a lot of, comparisons to errors that are out there. I try not to get into the whole social media thing. I think that's more just for, for conversation. But, there's, each time had their error, and each error was important to where we are right now in the NBA. And so, without those guys, we wouldn't be to this point. And so I just think it's important, for, especially young guys to study their history and to understand that, there were guys doing this stuff before, these guys. And these guys has just added a little more flavor to it. And, and then like you said, it's the evolution. And so, my dad, we talk about it all the time, man. He's pleased of where the game is right now, because he feels like he had a part, he had a piece in it. I got a chance to hang around Dr. J, and, he's in the big three. So I have conversations and dinners with him, but those guys are feeling really comfortable in their own skin because, like you said, they transcended the league, and I think the league and everybody has given them their just due.
Nice. And just speaking of just due and just working with the younger generation of folk in general, you are working with individuals in the Big Three League who have a little bit of professional understanding, or if not a lot of it, like you just mentioned, Dwight Howard. But there are so many players who've played overseas or played in the NBA before, just once again played at the level after college. Can you talk about how different it is coaching someone who's already played within the league versus someone who may be just fresh and new and still trying to figure themselves out?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Our players for the Detroit Amps, we have a Jeremy Pargo.
Yes.
Jeremy Pargo had an opportunity. He played in the NBA a couple of years, had a really successful European career. When I was playing in Europe, I remember watching him play in Israel, and he still has highlights of when he played in Israel and things like that. And so he had a great, solid career. And then you have Shakir Houston, who's one of our young guns, and he's 26, 27. He played in Greece, but he's actually been overall our best player this season for the Amps. And then, of course, we have Darnell Jackson. He played at Kansas. He's a Jayhawk champion. They had an opportunity to win the national championship, and then he had a really good professional career. He got a chance to play on a few teams. And now he's still continuing his coaching with the Los Angeles Clippers. And then we have Ray Nixon. Ray Nixon is a player that has been playing overseas for some time now. He's been playing in a few countries. And then he had a really, really successful last summer playing in the Big Three. And so those are the guys that make up our team. And, of course, we have Joe Johnson.
Yes.
He doesn't, he really needs no introduction. But we had the opportunity to, have him a part of our team. Unfortunately, he got hurt after the second game, but he's still, his presence is still being felt, on this team. And we're going to really, lean upon him to really kind of motivate us and help us push through these next 3 games. We got an important 3 games, but just, being around these guys, man, it's been just a breath of fresh air for me because I get a chance to trade these stories and you get a chance to learn from people's ups and downs and their successes and their failures. And all I do is record these and I try to pass it on to the next young man and young woman. So that way they hopefully, they won't make the same mistakes or they follow the same path.
And George, my last question to you, where do you see the league in the next decade or so? How high is the ceiling for Big Three?
Wow. Yeah, I see it really, really, taking off. I mean, it's taken off so far. We're in year 8.
Wow.
And just think we're in year 8 now, and we have 4 teams that have ownership. And so I think it's just a matter of time before this catches on, especially after this year 8 season. You can just kind of see how competitive it's going to be. And so I know the league is going to have more investors that want to have, take part in this. But it's been great. And I think it's just going to continue to grow. Sponsorships are going to continue to kind of roll in, and we're putting out a good product. And so you got guys that are really playing at a high level, and Cube has done a really good job of making these guys who are transitioning out of playing in the NBA to make them still feel like they're needed and feeling like they have somebody and it keeps them motivated, and it keeps the product looking really, really good.
Really good. I just saw a clip actually online, and it was O'Shea interviewing Ice Cube, and they were just going back and forth at one of the games, and it was really, really cute. And I just said, this is what he's trying to build here.
We have a lot of fun.
Yeah, so George Gervin Jr. is the assistant coach of Detroit Amps, Detroit's 3-on-3 basketball team. They do play this Saturday, July 26th in Cincinnati against the Los Angeles Riot, and that is going to be televised on CBS. George, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
Thank you, Tia. Thanks for having me, Tia. I appreciate it.
Of course. Is the Metro, and once again we're asking you to become a member of WDET and join this WDET family. The people are responding. We started today out with 456 new folks, and we're looking to get to 1,000. So join the rest of the tide of folks that are rising in, of listeners here at WDET. You can do so at WDET.org/give. Once again, Detroit Public Radio programs are worth the money. The Metro is worth your investment. Conversations about what's going on in the community, outside of your community, around it, in and about it. No matter what, we're trying to talk to you about the city of Detroit and Metro Detroit in all ways and all facets from all angles. And you don't want to miss it, and you definitely want to be a part of the growth. So be a part of WDET right now. Be a part of those 456 people to get to 1,000 people. We're looking for you right now. WDET.org/give. And don't forget, this is WDET-FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation. You all have a great day.